What do you say? What do you know? It's the full Monte Sports Show. It is Sunday, September 13th, 2020. I am your host, Monte Perez, a.k.a. The Sports Whisperer. You can follow me on all sorts of social media. On Twitter, MonteJP231, Facebook, Monte Perez, and on Instagram, Monte Perez2. That is with an E, not a Y. I want to thank everyone for tuning in last week. We had 32 states tune in across the country. We love having you view this show. The goal is to do it 5 days a week. So if you like sports, if you like comedy, feel free to repost this YouTube video to your friends and on your social media websites. It is such a great day today. Come closer. Come closer. We are all celebrating today. You're not close enough. I can't see you. Come closer. It is the first week of football season. How excited are we? It is the first week of football season. Listen, we had a great game Thursday night, not so much on the field, but just to be back is a great feeling. We're going to get to all your football needs this Sunday. In about 20 minutes, we have the best bets all across the country. And it starts off with actor Kirk Acevedo. He's going to talk about the Knicks, the Jets, and his New York Yankees. Also, Ariana Prasad, so happy to have her on today. She's going to be talking about the Seattle Seahawks and the tough NFC West. And then finally, the fan favorite, Rico. Show me the money, Graziano. Listen, he earned his nickname last year. I give Rico 3 games to pick. Bet against the spread every week. He doesn't pick them. I do. And Rico went 12 winning weeks last year, 3 losing weeks, 1 tie, won a lot of people money. We're also going to talk about fantasy football for all you novice who, if you love fantasy football, if you just started playing, we will help you out. So glad to have you in again the first week of the NFL season. So excited. Okay, but let's start our journey with this. So I start each show with a little story. And I gave you part 1 and part 2. And this is going to be part 3. Now, I know what you're thinking, Monty. I didn't tune in 2 weeks ago. I didn't tune in last week. Well, you know what? Come on. Don't ever miss the full Monty Sports Show. It's entertainment for the whole family. But this is part 3 of the story. Now, if you missed part 1 and part 2, don't worry about it. Like any great trilogy, it'll all be summarized in part 3. All you need to know is that I went to my ex's house, had dinner, and her great-grandmother, Gloria, left her plates. These plates that came over since the 1800s, her great-great-great-great-grandmother, and as I'm washing dishes, one of the plates break. Well, the following morning, we get up early. My ex told me to take off work because she had a special day planned. So we got up at 8 and says, we got to leave in 5 minutes because I want to be there at 9. It's an hour drive. Now, as we're in the car, she starts to tell me what she did Friday night and how she cleaned out her refrigerator. Now, this was not a 5-minute story about cleaning the refrigerator, which any refrigerator story should be 5 minutes. This was not a 10-minute story. This took 45 minutes. From the time we got into the car to the time we got to where we were going, she talked about how she was cleaning out the refrigerator. And look, there's a rule in my family that I started. If you tell a boring story, we yell, clear, okay? Clear, put some life into the story. Curse, tell a joke, do something that's going to make me interested. Now, I couldn't hang up on the phone with her because we were sitting next to each other. I couldn't make her stop the story because we were in the car. The only thing I could have done is tuck and roll and save myself. Okay? That's the only way I could have escaped. Now, the reason why I kept paying attention to this long story is because I thought there was a payoff. Like any good story. Like this story, there's going to be a payoff at the end. So I thought she was going to tell me while she was cleaning out the refrigerator, she found a pound of cocaine or drugs. And in fact, she used to be a drug dealer. She sold the drugs and she was going to take me to Mexico. No, that is not what happened. The payoff in this long-winded story was that she said, you know, and I learned something. Windex, they say you should only use it on glass, but Windex is the best thing to clean the inside of a refrigerator. That was the payoff. When she told me about Windex, I said, I wish I had some Windex right now because I would have poisoned myself. It's an hour story. So we get to where we're going, and it's a hospital. And she says, we're here. And I said, is there something you want to tell me? She's like, no, my cousin had a little breakdown, and we're going to visit her because she's really upset. Her kids are home, and she's been stressed lately, so she checked into this facility. So I said, I took off work for this? And she said, no, it's going to be fun. Oh, you mean like the refrigerator story? Who says, hey, you want to have fun today? Let's go to a hospital. So we get there, and her cousin comes out, and I swear to you, she looks exactly like Angelina Jolie from the movie Girl Interrupted. And my first thought when I saw her was, I wonder if this woman tells boring stories about a refrigerator. So the cousin starts going off about how she misses her kids, how she's worried about them. And my ex is telling, you're a great mom. They love you. Don't worry about it. She's like, please send me a picture. Show me a picture of them because my ex's parents were there and they took pictures of the kids. Now wait for it. I'm feeling so bad for this woman because she's stunningly beautiful. And secondly, she's all upset about her kids. But wait for it. Wait for it. My ex shows her the picture, and if it's of her 3 cats. Those are her kids, or what she calls them, cats. And even more disturbing, my ex is talking about her, about being a mother to these cats. My ex has had 2 kids. I mean, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm dealing with. So they're talking about her kids, her cats. Again, are you kidding me with this? Are you kidding me? Cats as her kids. So I get up, I go to the bathroom, and the bathroom's locked. And this woman comes up to me and in a gown, and she says, okay, am I crazy? Am I hallucinating? Or is your name Monte Perez? I said, no, you're not crazy. No, you're not hallucinating. I'm Monte Perez. She says, oh my God, wait here. She runs to her room, comes out with a piece of paper, writes her name and phone number on it, and says, can you take a selfie with me? She's like, I've seen you perform like 3 times. Stand-up comedy. You're comedian Monte Perez. I'm not crazy. I'm not hallucinating. I'm like, yeah, I'm Monte Perez. So I take a picture with her, a selfie, and I said, yeah, I'll send it to you. Give me a couple minutes. Now, I don't know what this woman was in the hospital for, but I know one thing. How low is her self-esteem that she thinks she's hallucinating and she thinks she's crazy because she thinks she sees Monte Perez, a D-list comedian, right? She didn't hallucinate that she saw Jerry Seinfeld, Kevin Hart, Chris Rock. She was hallucinating Monte Perez, the D-lister at best. So my ex-girlfriend comes to me, we walk to the car, and she says to me, who are you talking to? And I said, I don't know. This woman recognized me from doing stand-up comedy, and she wanted me to take a picture, and I got to send her the picture. She goes, how did she recognize you up from the phone? Were you Skyping? I said, what are you talking about? I said, she was talking to me. She came up to me. She goes, Monte, there was nobody there. You were talking to yourself. I said, hold on. So I look for the piece of paper in my pocket. It's not there. I must have dropped it when I went to the restroom. I said, she came up to me. She recognized me from doing stand-up comedy. It happens. It happened a couple times in my life. She said, you weren't talking to anyone physically there. So I said, hold on. I whip out my cell phone. I go through the pictures. I look at the pictures. There's nothing there but me. There's nothing there but me. I took a selfie with myself, and I was talking to someone who wasn't there. Now, I don't know if it was I was hallucinating. I don't know if my ex put drugs in my coffee or I don't know if there was a ghost in the hospital. But it was kind of freaky. All right, so 2 weeks go by. I pick up my clothes from the wash and fold. I'm taking out my jeans, and a napkin falls out. Now it's smudged, so there's no number, but the name is Gloria Tonez. I Googled Gloria Tonez, didn't see the woman that I thought it was. There was 100 of them, and I stopped. So I call my ex, and I say, oh my God, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, was your grandmother, okay? Was your grandmother the one whose plate broke? And everyone blamed me. That was in the family since 1800. Was your grandmother named Gloria Tonez? She said, yes. I said, you don't understand what happened. I think I talked to your grandmother in the hospital. And she goes, yeah, probably. She's haunted all of us. I said, what? What are you talking about? She goes, yeah, she's haunted all of us. And I said, okay, I need to know what's going on right now because I'm freaking out. She goes, yeah, well, maybe you shouldn't have broke up with me and I would have told you more about it. By the way, I hate you. So, I don't know if I was haunted. I don't know if her grandmother got me back. Or if the grandmother's a ghost, why does she think I broke the plate when she knows I didn't? But my ex just casually said, yeah, she's haunted all of us for years. And if you didn't break up with me, I'd tell you more. And I left it. And I love how I go from 1 week being the love of her life to being haunted by her great-great-great-grandmother, and now she hates me. And that's the story. That's it. We're going to end with that. A three-parter that end with me being haunted by ghosts, and I don't even believe in ghosts. So that's it. All right, let's move on to the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, let's start with the good. Here is Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua Tagovailoa of the Miami Dolphins. Tua, you may recognize the rookie out of Alabama who's coming off a bad injury, will slowly be implemented into the offense. Now, look, the Miami Dolphins are doing the right thing here. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a seasoned veteran. He's very smart, very professional. Tua can learn a lot of things from him, and I'm glad to see this. They're not listening to the fans. They're not rushing anything. They are basically saying it's going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick. We're going to bring Tua along slowly, and Ryan Fitzpatrick will be the starter against New England today. They will implement Tua slowly but surely into the offense. The right move to make. So there's the good. Now let's start with the bad. Listen, I do not associate with anyone who can't admit they're wrong. We've all had people in our family, people we've worked for, our friends, they can never say sorry. They can never admit they are wrong. But I was wrong here. I was wrong about Marcus Mariota. Here's Marcus Mariota. This is his one playoff win a few years ago when they defeated the Kansas City Chiefs on the road. Marcus Mariota was the best college quarterback I had ever seen. And his stats in 3 years, he won the Heisman Trophy. He was statistically the best quarterback in the history of college football. I thought he was going to be a very good pro. He went to the Tennessee Titans, and they've struggled. They have struggled big time. 9-7. They benched him last year. They go to the AFC Championship. But here's the thing. I was excited because for the first time in Marcus Mariota's career, he was going to Las Vegas to play for the Raiders, okay? And he was going to have an offensive coach in John Gruden. But Marcus Mariota is out. He's going to miss 3 weeks minimum with a tear in his pectoral muscle. Marcus Mariota can't stay healthy. This is an absolute shame. I was wrong about him, guys. I will say this on this show. Love him as a person, love him as a player. Can't stay healthy, all the talent in the world. But Marcus Mariota has been a huge disappointment as an NFL quarterback. So the good, the bad, let's end with the ugly. Look, guys, here it is right here. 2018 first round QBs 2 years later. Baker Mayfield, Cleveland Browns, 12-17. Sam Darnold, my brother Pete wants to watch the Jet game today. Why? 11-15 career record. Josh Allen for the Bills, 15-12, done pretty well. Josh Rosen, 3-13 career record. He's on the practice squad. The only guy getting it done is Lamar Jackson, 19-3 with the Baltimore Ravens. So listen, these quarterbacks came out with, they were talking about how this was going to be one of the best quarterback drafts ever, one of the best talent quarterbacks ever, but it's turned out to be a disaster. Okay, Lamar Jackson and really Josh Allen are the only two that have worth their weight in salt. And there you have the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, we're going to go to do something here that I love to do. If you live in LA, if you live in Wisconsin, if you live in Chicago, New York, Florida, we got you covered. Okay? I break down every game, and I'm going to pick a winner for you. And we're going to do this real quick. We're going to have Kirk Acevedo on in 10 minutes. I'm going to do this. Then we're going to get to your comments. So we are jam-packed, ready to go. But first, let me say, I get a lot of heat on Twitter for my predictions. A lot of heat. But I will say this. I have the number 74 here. Why? Last season, I picked 74% winners. 74% winners. I pick every game unless the guests talk about them or I give them to Rico. 74%. That's something to celebrate. Okay? That is something to celebrate. Most NFL handicappers are happy with 60%. What the big guy do for you? 74%. 74%. And I keep track. So I will post this. I will tell you where we're at. So let's get right to it. The New York Jets at the Buffalo Bills. Now, look, I think both of these teams have talent. The Jets obviously lost Jamal Adams to Seattle, their safety. C.J. Mosley, their number one linebacker, has opted out because of COVID-19 concerns. We know that the Bills last year made it to the playoffs. Okay, we showed this. This is a battle between Josh Allen, 15-12 career record, and Sam Darnold. Now, here's the problem with the Jets. They're going into every game in their division with the fourth best coach in their division in Adam Gase. The fourth best coach in their division. Buffalo has a better coaching staff. We know the Patriots have a legendary coaching staff, and I love what the Miami Dolphins are doing with their coaching staff. So I'm going to take the Bills here, 23-20. Green Bay Packers versus the Minnesota Vikings. So let's just break this down for you. The Packers, right here, I got my little Lambeau Leap sweatshirt on. I got my Packers thing over there. I got my Packers Monte Perez jersey mug. But let's break this down. They drafted Jordan Love, a quarterback out of Utah State, to replace Aaron Rodgers. Okay? They also drafted A.J. Dillon out of Boston College, a running back. He's been a disaster in training camp. Jordan Love is third string. Aaron Rodgers is going to play this year like a man possessed, and he's pissed off, and rightly so. Kirk Cousins, the man, the quarterback who doesn't want to wear a mask because he believes it's survival of the fittest. Kirk Cousins, when he plays against elite teams, he plays like he's sick. He has a 6-29 career record. So I'm going to take the Packers here, 27-23. Miami Dolphins versus the New England Patriots. Look, I love what the Dolphins are doing. They have the highest paid secondary cornerbacks in the NFL. Why is that a problem? Well, New England doesn't have major weapons on offense. Cam Newton, who used to be with the Carolina Panthers, is now in New England running the show. He's their quarterback. But I'm taking the Dolphins here. The Dolphins always play them well. So I'm going to take the Dolphins here, 23-17. Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington Redskins. Look, Doug Peterson, the head coach of the Eagles, is 4-0 opening up the season. He's never lost an opening game. I love Carson Wentz, the Philadelphia Eagle quarterback. And I think the Redskins defense is going to be much better. But what can Dwayne Haskins do? The former quarterback from Ohio State struggled last year. The Redskins don't really have a lot of weapons. So I'm going to take Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz here. 24-16 Eagles win. Las Vegas Raiders at the Carolina Panthers. Listen, I'm going to give you the top 5 quarterbacks right now who have the best winning percentage over the past 2 years. Lamar Jackson, Jimmy Garoppolo, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, and who's number 5? Wait for it. Who's number 5? You're going to be shocked when I tell you. Teddy Bridgewater. Remember last year he filled in for Drew Brees. Teddy Bridgewater is 16-6 in his last 22 games. I'm not buying what John Gruden is selling. I'm all in on the Carolina Panthers. Vegas has Carolina winning 5.5 games. They have the Bengals winning 5.5 games. So what are you doing here? Carolina, Matt Rule, the coach from Baylor, is now in his first year, drafted 7 defensive players. They are going to be fun to watch. Take the Carolina Panthers here over the Las Vegas Raiders. Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions. Is anyone still believing that Mitchell Trubisky, the quarterback of the Bears, is their franchise quarterback? I'm not. And on the flip side, I really think that the Detroit Lions are going to be better here. But I got to believe that Matt Nagy is going to, with the limited practice, is going to prepare his team to win more than Matt Patricia, who is 6-10, 3-12-1. Matt Patricia's been a disaster. First of all, he looks like a disaster on the sideline. He has food in his beard. I mean, he's got a beard like ZZ Top. Like, you're a head coach, dude. Look the part. Take the Bears here, 24-23. Indianapolis Colts at the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Frank Reich is one of the up and rising stars in the NFL as a coach with the Indianapolis Colts. Listen, they have the best offensive line in the NFL. Pro Football Focus rated them number 1. The Jacksonville Jaguars are tanking. They don't want to win. They want to stockpile draft picks. The Colts roll here with Phillip Rivers as the quarterback in his first game with the Indianapolis Colts, 34-13. Los Angeles Chargers at the Cincinnati Bengals. My brother Pete, huge Joe Burrow fan. We saw what Clyde Edwards-Helaire did, the LSU running back, Thursday night with the Kansas City Chiefs, rushed for over 100 yards, had a touchdown. Joe Burrows is not going to have the same success. The Cincinnati Bengals have a terrible offense. Their skill position players have huge question marks. I think A.J. Green and Tyler Boyd will definitely put up numbers this year, but they just don't have the offensive line. Listen, I'm taking the Chargers here. They're starting Tyrod Taylor instead of Justin Burrow. Justin Burrow, we know, is the quarterback from Oregon, rookie. So I like the Chargers here in a close game, 23-17. Arizona Cardinals at the San Francisco 49ers. Arizona always plays them well. Kyler Murray should put up numbers. I think this game will be higher scoring than people would lead you to believe because of the 49er defense. But I'm taking the 49ers in a close game to pull away late, 30-24. Tennessee Titans at the Denver Broncos. I love what the Broncos have done this offseason. Do we think that Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback of the future for the Titans? Well, they paid him like he is, gave him a healthy contract. But when the game mattered most in the playoffs, they took the ball out of Ryan Tannehill's hand. They threw the ball 13 and 14 times in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees throw the ball 13 times in a quarter. Now, I know the Broncos are without Von Miller, but I love Vic Fangio. I love the skill position. Drew Lock is 4-1 in his last 5 starts. Take the Broncos here in a slight upset, 24-20. And there you have it. We go through every game in the NFL, break it down for you. Again, no matter where you live, we cover every team. That is the NFL predictions. I was 74% last year. So hopefully we'll improve on that. Now, let's do something I love to do before we get actor Kirk Acevedo on. Let's surf the crowd. Here we go with the comments. Fly, Eagles, fly. Yes, Julio. Yes. Bully the Line likes the Bill all day. Yeah, listen, Aaron Rodgers dated Danica Patrick, but I don't really get into people's personal lives when it comes to that, George. But yes, he did dump Danica Patrick. So, yeah, that's it. Yes, and I am giving up on Mariota. It did hurt. But listen, life's about evolving, guys. Life's about evolving. You got to learn from your mistakes, and when you're wrong, you're wrong. Listen, I say all the time to people who come on my show. I say, I don't care if you're right. I don't care if you're wrong. Just be informative. Just be entertaining. That's all we care about. And listen, this game right here, Bears-Lions, was one of the most difficult games I had to pick. Because I really did not know on paper who was a better team. So the reason I'm picking the Bears here is because I have faith I have faith in Matt Nagy. I think Matt Nagy is a pretty decent coach. And Matt Patricia has been, I'm not going to say a disaster, but he hasn't been good. Now, look, they have talent. Matt Stafford's a very good quarterback. Their 2 wide receivers had 20 touchdown passes. I like what they did in the draft. They drafted the defensive back out of Ohio State. They drafted the running back. I like what they've done, Detroit. But it's like following the Jets, right? It's just when you're a Detroit Lion fan, when you are a Jet fan, you know to expect the worst because the Jets haven't been to a Super Bowl since 1969. The Detroit Lions have never, ever been to a Super Bowl. So, honestly, listen, I was talking to Rico, and we're talking about fantasy football. We're talking about the games, and it's going to be very hard this year because no training camp, no preseason. We don't know what's going to happen in the first week, and that's why people are all upset about fantasy. And I was like, throw out week 1. You got to throw out week 1. And one of the things we're gonna watch today, and one of the things that you really need to look for is young quarterbacks in a new system. Baker Mayfield, okay, brand new coach. You got to look for that. Dak Prescott in Dallas, okay, brand new coach. You look at the Saints, continuity. Even the Jets, the Bills, new continuity. And that's what you got to watch for, because when you don't have preseason, when you don't have extended OTAs, when you don't have extended training camps, if I'm a defensive coordinator, what I do is I bring the house and I constantly blitz people, because you want to see not only if the new quarterback can handle this, but you want to see if, in fact, the running back, the tight end, the offensive line understand the blitz packages schemes. So I expect a lot of sacks today, and I really think that mobile quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, Arizona, you look at guys who can run and throw, Josh Allen in Buffalo. You look at those guys, and I really think that they're going to have an advantage the first 1 or 2 weeks. Especially since, Josh Allen in Buffalo, Baltimore with the Ravens, and obviously Arizona. Even Sam Darnold, when you have the quarterback with quarterback and coach that know each other, when you have quarterback coach that understand the system, Tom Brady's going to be better the second half of the year. Tom Brady's going to be better the second half of the year. Now, when we come back, actor Kirk Acevedo will join us. You're listening to the full Monte Sports Show. We work hard on Sundays, so you don't have to. All right, guys, keep the comments coming. We love having them. We're going to bring on Kirk Acevedo, born and raised in the South Bronx. He's been in HBO's Oz, Band of Brothers, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, diehard New York sports fan. Kirk, thanks so much for joining the full Monte Sports Show. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you pretty well, yes.
All right, good deal. All right, I'm going to start us off. We like to do this with everyone who comes on the show.
Sure.
We started off with something, a feel-good, and see what this means to you right here. Right here. John Starks' dunk against the Chicago Bulls. As a Knicks fan, since the Knicks have struggled for the last 20 years, this, to me, is one of the greatest moments in New York Knicks history. Do you agree with that?
I think LJ is
Larry Johnson's three. Yeah, that's a good point. Larry Johnson's three, in the playoffs, the 4-point play. That is true. Look, I'm a lifelong Knicks fan, right? Let's get some Knicks background here for you. I'm a lifelong Knicks fan. It's been a
Same here.
struggle since 2000. Okay, so as long as James Dolan is the owner, I know on your Twitter account we don't like to curse on this show, but you have F James Dolan on your Twitter handle. What do we do as Knicks fans?
Well, I think as Knicks fans, the whole supply of Zoloft, we're keeping them flush. Lexapro, all that stuff. Listen, as a Knicks fan, I don't, like this year's draft. We're just unlucky, and you can't necessarily. I don't believe in superstition. You can't blame that on Dolan, but what you can blame on Dolan is management. So now we get Thibodeau. I just think it's 8 years too late.
It's funny. Thibodeau to me is a coach. You look at what the Nets have done. The Nets hire Steve Kerr, right? A progressive guy, offensive minded.
No, not Steve Nash.
Steve Nash, right. Steve Nash and Steve Kerr in Golden State. So they hire Steve Nash, and the Knicks hired Tom Thibodeau, who basically is coaching like it's 1986, and he wants to win 88, 85.
Yeah. Now listen, he's a great pick if you have defensive players to coach.
Right.
He only has what's his name? Who I love, Mitch.
Mitchell Robinson.
Yes, yeah. Mitchell Robinson. But other than that, who do we have that's a defensive specialist? No one. He's going to be pulling out what's left of his hair every time on the sidelines because these guys aren't going to rotate and help out on defense. So it's the wrong coach in the wrong league. Do you understand?
No, yeah. Listen, if this was 1990, I'd be all for it. But again, the wrong coach. And what's so disturbing is that, again, they throw money around. I think this is the last year they're still paying Phil Jackson. They gave Phil Jackson a 5-year, $60 million contract. Most presidents at that time were getting $2 to $3 million. So, again, they just throw money out like nothing. But I just, comedian George Carlin once said, think about how dumb the average American is. Okay, we could see that at the president's rallies right now. And he said 50% are dumber than that. As a Knicks fan, what do we need to do to stop the number one financial franchise in the NBA? They make more money than the Lakers.
I think the commissioners literally has to step in. To be honest with you, almost like what they did with Serling from the Clippers. I think we need, first of all, I don't like the GM. I don't like the president they got. I'm sorry. Listen, it's an upgrade over who we had, but you got to get rid of Dolan.
You got to figure out one way. And by the way, Kurt, if you can look at the screen right now, people love the fact that you're walking around and talking because being from the Bronx, they say you can't sit still and talk when you get fired up.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Let's move to something a little more positive. Listen, I thought the Yankees, would absolutely dominate their division. I thought the Yankees were going to be with the Dodgers, the best team in the league. They played a little better as of late, but they're still battling for second or third place behind Toronto. What's been the story with this team?
Well, we've been hurt. I mean, when has the whole lineup? When we had the whole lineup 100%? So no Judge. LeMahieu was out, and after batting over 400, he hurt his thumb. Sanchez? I love Sanchez when he first came to the Yankees. When he first came up, he was a stud. And now he's batting like 125. Me and you put the ball in play and bat 125.
It's funny because Christian Yelich, who was the MVP, who was dominant, is batting like 130. And you bring up Sanchez. Like, we're seeing all across the board, guys not batting like 220. Guys are batting like 150. 150.
And, this is another issue with the Sanchez. I understand he has been hurt since day one. He's hurt every year. Misses like blocks of of season time, by the month. My thing with him is his weight. Jorge Posada, who is an undersized catcher, was a specimen. He was shredded. Just a specimen. Sanchez is at. You hear me? Do you hear me? Hello? Hello? Hello, hello? I don't know if you guys could hear me. Hello, hello? Hello?
Lost Kurt there for a second, but we are back. Sorry about that, guys. Let's see what's happening here with Kurt. See if we can get him back on. And I think I see Kurt right there in the background. So let's get Kurt back on here. Let's get this banner off. Let's see what we got here. Sorry about that, guys. A little technical difference with Kurt. But Kurt, you're back now, aren't you? Okay, let's get
my Wi-Fi. So with Sanchez, I think he's out of shape. I think he could lose 20 pounds. I think he needs a whole strength conditioning regimen. Like, I think he needs to change his body. When you have injury after injury after injury, and they're different injuries, which that tells me is your core, your body, your foundation is not up to the rigors of a 162 game season.
You know, so, you bring up a great point because with the NBA. You look at the Milwaukee Bucks, and I lost my mind when this happened because Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, these players all came into shape. And Chris Middleton, the number 2 option for Milwaukee Bucks, didn't work out for 4 months. Like, what does that say to you? Now you're saying the same thing. Like, guys they didn't know if they were going to be a season. There are a lot of players. Like, I'm a Met fan. Michael Conforto came shredded. He came ready to play. He's batting over 320. So you're saying some of these guys on the Yankees are just – but isn't as a coach, one of the things that I found amazing was Enes Kanter, who plays for the Boston Celtics. He was on an interview before they went into the bubble, and they said and he said 2 to 3 times per week the entire team met on Skype and they stretched and they worked out with the Boston Celtics trainer. Not a lot of teams did that. So you're saying, isn't that on the coach?
Well, if you want to talk about Aaron Boone, yes, it is about the coach. I'm sorry, I'm not an Aaron Boone fan. I'm an Aaron Boone personality fan, which I think the Yankees needed because Girardi had a way of just weighing on you over and over the same way Thibodeau style is going to weigh on you.
Right, good point. Good comparison, yeah.
So, but if you wanted that type of temperament, then why didn't you go get Donnie Baseball, who has a better baseball mind than Aaron Boone, but the same temperament?
You know, you bring up a good point. I think Thibodeau and Boone, I think, in the media of New York, Thibodeau has a personality you could fit in a shot glass. I mean, let's call it he's like Bill Belichick, and that doesn't work in New York. And that doesn't work in New York. So you're not a huge fan of Aaron Boone. So as a Yankee fan, I don't know what this feels like, but is it World Series or bust for you?
Every year it's World Series or bust with that team, with that lineup, with those pitchers, with the closers. I mean, it's ridiculous. It has to be. I mean, as a Yankee fan, we expect nothing less, especially with that lineup. Mind you, we're still hurt. It's a long season. Things change. We're not that far behind. So a little 10, 12 game winning streak changes everything, right?
Yeah, no, I think that, as long as you get into the postseason, especially now, it's going to be an extended postseason for Major League Baseball. I do not want to face that Yankee lineup when they're healthy. I do not want to face their number 1 pitcher when he's rolling, because he is about as dominant as we've seen. I'm lucky. I have one pitcher with the Mets, and Jacob deGrom, who you could expect every game. He's going to strike out 7-8 batters. He's going to let up 2 runs. And you guys now that have that with your number 1 starter, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then you throw – all right, Tanaka's number 2, right? So he's batting – his ERA is at 3.12, I think, 3.12. So, he's pitching well for his age. And he's listen, he's like Pettit, Tanaka. I mean, Tanaka to me is more skills, but the big game, Tanaka shows up the big game.
Well, that's the thing. Andy Pettit could struggle during the regular season. You put him game 5 down, 2-2. You put him in game 6 and 7. He's going to give you 7 innings. He's going to pitch his heart out. That lefty was always a big time performer.
Yes, he was. Yes.
All right, let's move to everything that we're facing today. The New York Giants. You had Ben McAdoo, who went 13-15. Pat Schumer went 9-23. They now hired the longtime special teams coach for the Patriots, and Joe Judge. I don't know if you saw this, but on Thursday, the Giants had one of their last, I would say, not full contact, but practices. And 20 minutes in, the head coach brought them in together, dropped F-bombs left and right, yelled at them, and said, "We're starting practice over because you guys are not giving even 50% of effort. This is BS." He went off. Do you like what you're hearing so far about him?
I didn't read that. I like that.
I mean, he made them start practice over.
I like that. But, well, he's a Belichick guy, right? So
yeah,
he's learning. He's learning from the best, and the best learned from Parcells. So I do like that. We'll see. I do like a young coach. I do like that. But we'll see. I mean, you got to win, right? Like, you just got to win. We're great on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, we suck. So, and there's still question marks with our quarterback. Our quarterback's a massive question mark. I don't know how we picked him with our 6th pick when you got him for a 2nd rounder. And then last year's draft, not the one that just passed, but the prior year, stud quarterbacks that we could have had. Stud.
He's talking about Daniel Jones, you see right here. Listen, most experts had Daniel Jones for the novice fan right here, the casual fan. Most experts had Daniel Jones going in the late 2nd round out of Duke. The Giants picked him with their 6th overall pick. I was absolutely shocked. He has shown signs. And listen, they have a ton of offensive talent. First of all, anytime you have Saquon Barkley, you should be good. They have some decent wide receivers. Their tight end has a ton of talent. How do you see this offense playing out?
How's that offensive line?
That's the biggest question. Listen, you got the guy I wanted in the draft. I wanted the Jets to take him. You got a stud, but I think. Do you think that they're going to be, the Giants of old? And what I mean by that is basically ground and pound with Barkley, because you got to set up the pass for a young quarterback by establishing the run.
Well, you got to go back to you could ground and pound. Let's say the offensive line holds up. You could ground and pound if you have the threat that you're going to throw the ball. So for me, and I understand the trade now looks better, but hindsight. But Odell Beckham, Cleveland got him for nothing. And
I think the Giants just wanted him out. But anytime, if you have Saquon Barkley and Odell Beckham Jr., how are you preparing as a defense? You have one of the best wide receivers and what I think is the 2nd best running back in the game behind Christian McCaffrey in Carolina. So how do you prepare for those 2 guys?
Okay, I love McCaffrey. Stud. But are we really going to put him number 1 when Saquon is rushing and doing what he does with no offensive line and no quarterback? Come on.
I look at it this way, and I said this in my fantasy drafts that I did. It's almost like people are forgetting how good Saquon Barkley is because the Giants haven't had success.
He is the perfect football player. And what I mean by that is the full package. You know what I mean? He's like, he's like, what's his name from Chicago with just from 85.
Walter Payton.
Walter Payton. He's Adrian Peterson without the child hitting his kid.
Without the child abuse and sex parties on the yacht.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, he says the right thing. He does the right thing. He's married. His uncle was Iran Barkley. He understands limelight. He's a good dude. He says the right things. He's a great teammate. He should retire and die a freaking Giant unless, they trade him away. But like it did Odell Beckham, which is, I'm sorry, those two guys, and all you had to do was just show
Build the offensive line. Build the offensive line. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So how do you see this game playing out? A little weird. Normally the Giants face off against Dallas. They're playing the Steelers Monday night. How do you see this playing out? Who wins and why?
The Dallas is first, right? First up?
Yeah. No, you play Steelers Monday night.
Right. Yeah. Is Roethlisberger playing?
He's starting, but we don't know how effective he's going to be.
I mean, that's the age-old question: is Roethlisberger?
Talk about a guy who's never in shape either.
Well, this is a waste of talent. I mean, they get their money and they feel like, oh, I'm so skilled, I could just rely on my talent, almost like a Roy Jones Jr. Because he didn't really have the basic skill set, but relied on his talent. But what happens is, age is undefeated. So back to the question. I don't know. I just don't know what to expect from Daniel Jones. I just don't know.
So would you say, like, just to summarize the year, what's a successful season for you right now? He's still a young quarterback. Giants have a first-year coach. Are you saying, look, we got to win 8 games?
8-8. 8-8. Listen, even – no, 8-8. 8-8 is like – 8-8 is like, wow. There's a lot of hope. And that was an incredible season. Anything less than 8-8 is horrible.
Okay, so we have like a minute left, then we're going to get Ariana Prasad. We're talking with Kirk Acevedo on the Full Monty Sports Show. So, Kirk, I always struggle this with fans. And I say, look, if you're not going to make the playoffs, what does it matter if you're 8-8 when you could go 4-12 and get a stud in the NFL draft next year?
Because you have to teach your players how to win. You got to teach them how to win. You can't have them lose just a draft high. You have to teach your players how to win. So if all your players suck and don't know how to win, and you get a stud, your stud new rookie is going to be around a bunch of guys who don't know how to win, and it's bad habits are taught. That's why.
That's a very, very. You know what? I've asked a lot of people that question. That's probably the best answer I've gotten. Kurt, lastly, thanks so much for doing this. Talk about what's going on. People don't realize this. We talk about, people who have to go to work, but Hollywood is basically shut down, right? With the COVID-19. What do you do to reinvent yourself? What do you do to stay busy? What do you do if you can't be on the set, what do you do?
To be honest with you, man, like our profession is like not essential. So, all we do is entertain people, and some people do it poorly. So, you know what I mean? For me personally, it's scary because I don't know when I'm going to go back to work, and I don't know how much work is going to be available. You know what I mean? Because they're going to be trepidatious. You know what I mean? They're not going to open up the floodworks and there's going to be like tons of projects. Also, winter's coming around. We don't know how the virus is going to respond in winter, and do we have to shut down again? So there's a lot of what ifs. They still haven't figured out the bonding issue, which is ensuring, if I'm the lead on a show and I die, does my family sue? If I'm the lead on the show, I get sick, do you replace me? And if you replace me, do I still get paid? There's a lot of what ifs there. So I'm nervous because I want to work. I haven't worked all year. So, and there's a lot of people in a way worse situation than I'm in, of course. But at the end of the day, we all need to work. So.
And, I think a lot of that, I used to have a political show and I stopped because it was just too divisive. But I think the one thing we got to do is we got to get this lunatic out of office. And once we do that, we'll start to heal as a country.
Brother, we have no JFK. We have no Martin Luther King. There's nobody waiting in the wait. You know what I mean by this?
Yes,
That's going to galvanize the people and bring us together. Listen, Biden is a good man. Was he my first choice? No, he was not my first choice. He wasn't my second choice. But that's not the issue. We have two options. One, and I've met Donald Trump 3 times, is arguably the most divisive man in the history of any profession. I mean, he's pretty bad, man. He's self-serving individual. He cares nothing about his country. His response to John McCain not wanting to lower the flags was disgusting. Whether you agree with McCain's politics or not, that's the point I'm making. He doesn't bring people together.
No, not at all.
He only wants to stay in office. Yeah. He doesn't care about winning presidency.
He doesn't want to lead. He just wants the power. That's it. Kirk, love having you on. Really appreciate coming on New York Sports. We'll have you on again, to talk Giants once the season starts. How can we follow you? How can we support what you're doing?
I'm just on Twitter. It's at Kirk Acevedo. The same thing on Instagram, and just fighting the good fight on social media. So.
Yes, hilarious account. I just started following you. Thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate your time getting up early, and enjoy the Giant game today, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Take care. That was Kirk Acevedo. Again, you've seen him on Oz. You've seen him all over HBO, and hopefully we could beat this virus, get back to work, and get back to doing what we love. Now we're going to bring on Ariana Prasad. So glad you're joining the show. Been dying to get some Seattle Seahawk personnel to come on. How are you today? She's a sports journalist covering the Seattle Seahawks for Seahawks Maven on Sports Illustrated Online. She also writes for Paralympics, covering Francophone athletes throughout the world. In addition, she's also a new contributor to Nuts and Bolts Sports. We did her she was in the chat room. She did a fantasy football draft with Nuts and Bolts Sports, and I looked at your team, 6 wins, and be happy with it. That's what I'm going to start with.
Hi, sorry, 6 wins for the fantasy team?
For you, for your fantasy football team.
Oh, you think I'm only going to get 6 wins?
And be happy with that.
Oh, okay, interesting. Well, we'll see. Hi, everyone. My name is Ariana. Thank you so much, Monte, for the introduction. So, yeah, I write for Seahawk Maven. It's on Sports Illustrated Online. So I've been covering the Seahawks for several months, and I'm repping them today a little bit with the colors. Yeah, and I also just started writing for Paralympics. So I cover Paralympic athletes. And at NBS, I'm going to be doing a variety of things, but primarily football, maybe mixing in some of the things I learned from covering Paralympics. So it's nice to meet everyone.
Okay, we're going to start with this. We like to put the guests into a festive mood. This is Skittles right here. Marshawn Lynch just tossing aside the Saints defender. I've never seen an athlete more loved in Seattle for a short period of time than Marshawn Lynch. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of that is his personality, and I just think people see that and they really connect with him. He's such a fun guy. I was actually watching clips of him the other day, even with Conan O'Brien, but he's got such a vibrant personality. And I think that people really understand, when players retire, even when they switch teams, you still love that player. The love follows you. So I think Seattle is always going to love Marshawn.
Yeah, no, he's a character. He was just in an HBO series that I watched. Definitely full of personality. All right, let's get right to the Seahawks. Here's the problem I have. A lot of people love Pete Carroll. Him and Russell Wilson, 86, 41, and 1. Both are going to be first ballot Hall of Famers. No doubt about that. But what drives me insane here, and we started to see this over the past few weeks on social media, basically calling out Brian Schottenheimer, the most conservative offensive play caller. It's basically run on first down, run on second down, and let Russell Wilson make a play. I've had it with Brian Schottenheimer. Am I overreacting?
I don't think so. I think that actually, among Seahawks fans, I think people are feeling that. And I know you kind of hinted at it, but there's this whole idea of let Russ cook. Everyone's calling for that on social media. Let him do his thing. And I think that's valid. Seattle has built that reputation off the run, and they are very good at that. And they're always investing in that. They're having a committee. And that's great that they have that option. I think investing in the run is still important in the NFL. But, you have Russell Wilson, future Hall of Famer. He was just ranked number 2 in the NFL 100. And, he's a fantastic quarterback, definitely one of the best in the league. So, yeah, let him cook. Let him do his thing.
I love that they're using that let him cook. Like, basically, I mean, if you watch the Seahawks play, and again, it's amazing because if you look over the past 3 years, the teams that run the most in the first quarter have been Seattle's number one, and all losing teams. So it's basically coaches who don't believe in their quarterback. It's like, how much more does Russell have to do for you to hit? Let him cook, let him turn it loose, and they don't do it.
Yeah, and I do think, and people have been saying that. I feel like it's been getting so much attention, but I also think that we just added Greg Olsen and Philip Dorsett, so I'm hoping that by retooling the offense a bit in this off season, that we can let him cook, and I hope that we do open up the offense a bit more. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I think getting Olsen, a stellar tight end who can block, who can open up the middle, will definitely help. Let's talk about this defense. It's not the Legion of Boom. It's not the defense that we know. But getting Jamal Adams as a Jet fan, absolutely love it. He's going to quarterback that back four. What's the weakness and strengths of this defense?
Of the defense? Yeah. So when I was thinking about that, I think that, we lost Jadeveon Clowney. Seahawks fans have been calling for him the entire offseason. It's, hey, are we going to sign him? We're going to sign him. Obviously, we lost him to the Titans. But so I think that there's still concerns for the pass rush. We did make a lot of additions in the offseason, but it's mostly been veterans picking up inexpensive guys in free agency. So there's no stars on the defensive line. So I would say that might still be a concern, is if we can pressure opposing quarterbacks. But I think the secondary is very strong. Obviously, we have Shaquille Griffin coming back. We have Trey Flowers. We have Jamal. We have Quandre Diggs as our safeties. So, and as you mentioned, Jamal can do it all. He's that strong safety. He can actually pressure the quarterback, so he goes and gets the sack.
Yeah, listen, with the Jets last year, he actually lined up more times at outside linebacker than he did safety. So he's one of these, unicorns, hybrids who can do everything on the field.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing is I've been studying different roster changes. You want those versatile guys, the ones who can do it all, and then so it'll be interesting to see how guys move around the field. But I would say that the back is a bit stronger than I forgot to mention, of course, you have the linebackers. You have Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, and then we added Bruce Irvin. So that's a nice line of veterans. But I would say the defensive line is the biggest point of concern.
Yeah, listen, let's move to the offense. Pro Football Focus has the Seahawks ranked 28th offensive line. We know they like to run. How is this going to impact their running game? And secondly, who are they going to do running back by committee? They drafted Penny. He has not been what they wanted. Carson appears to be the featured back, but will they do running back by committee?
So yeah, they actually added Carlos Hyde. They got him, from the Texans.
Yes.
Picked him up. So I think and then Rashad Penny is on the pup list right now. So maybe he'll factor in later in the season, but for right now, no. And of course it's a point of concern. But so it'll probably be Chris Carson primarily, and then we might see I imagine we'll see Carlos Hyde getting in there as well. So it'll probably be between those two. We do have a rookie running back, DJ Dallas, and Carlos Hyde actually said he's kind of been taking him under his wing and teaching him like a little brother. So that could be, either this season or later in the season or next season. We might see him factor in. There's Travis Homer. There's a few guys, but it'll primarily be Chris Carson, I think. And then you mentioned the offensive line. That, for me, is another point of concern on the team. We lost center Justin Britt in the offseason, and then it's all new guys, So I'm wondering about their chemistry. I'm just wondering how – there's no necessarily stars on the offensive line. We did get Damian Lewis in the draft from LSU, and he's great. But besides that, I'm a bit concerned about the offensive line.
Listen, I'm amazed. I mean, you look at what LSU did last year, but now you're seeing not only the players that were drafted, but they're all starting. We saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire Thursday night. Joe Burrow's going to get the start. I like Jefferson out of Minnesota. There's just so much LSU talent in the NFL from last year. Okay, so I love these two wide receivers, and can I make the argument, because I think I can, that Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are top 5 wide receiver duo in the NFL?
I think you can definitely make that argument.
Thank you. People think I'm crazy for saying that.
No, I think they're kind of slept on, honestly. We saw that happen with DK in the draft. We're expecting him to have a really big sophomore campaign. And then for Tyler Lockett, I was actually researching it. The NFL ranked him the second best receiver after Michael Thomas.
Wow.
So Michael Thomas gets his attention, well-deserved, of course. He's phenomenal. He's, basically the Saints, passing offense and everything. But Tyler Lockett is fantastic. He did this amazing toe-tapping touchdown last season. That was incredible. But he's a talented guy. He can do it all. He can run the routes. And then DK is your deep threat. So I feel like with those two, you have so much versatility.
Well, LC says Monty likes LSU yet hates the Saints. I don't get. First of all, I despise LSU, but I respect them, and I think the Saints are the most overrated team in the NFL because every year in the playoffs they get bounced. So no, I do not like LSU. I do not like the Saints, but that's just you're me. Listen, people say this all the time. Tyler Lockett is not a route runner. I don't care. This is what Jared is saying. I don't care that DK Metcalf isn't a route runner. They have chemistry with Russell Wilson, and you may run a bad route, but Russell Wilson is scrambling around. He points somewhere or he knows where you're going to go, and that's why they're so effective, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the important thing. Maybe if they're not, I do know with DK, he's kind of got the skill of, just running deep and beating everyone and being able to get those deep balls.
And he's built like a 2x4. I mean, that guy's jacked.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. I'm sure everyone's seen the shirtless pics. But, yeah, so even if, maybe if he's not an Antonio Brown or someone who's crazy at route running, like, as you said, they've got the chemistry. So when they do run their routes, and then they're able to connect with Russell. And I think that is what matters.
Now, speaking of Russell Wilson right here, I think he's the best quarterback in the NFL. Reading defenses, I think Patrick Mahomes is second. What is your feeling? Is Russell Wilson the best quarterback in the NFL?
I think you can make that argument. Obviously, it's subjective, but I want to say.
What do you think?
What do I think? Well, okay. I don't know how your feelings are. I think Tom Brady's a fantastic quarterback. I think Patrick Mahomes is fantastic as well. I think Russ is one of the best. It's hard for me to choose an absolute best, but Russ, to me, he's top three, Yeah, I mean, he was just, I think the NFL players all agree with you. He won number 2.
Listen, he's in a conservative offense, okay? He's number 1 in almost every category on third down completion, on fourth quarter comebacks. I mean, in every way, when you put the ball in this guy's hands, he's not going to fail.
Right. And I do want to point out that, obviously Tyler Lockett and DK are very good, but they're not like or maybe they're just not seen as like a Julio Jones, So
and Calvin Ridley type, yeah.
Yeah, a crazy kind of receiver, or like a Tyreek Hill. So the fact that like he is still, delivering these wins and working with the receivers, that says a lot about his talent too,
No, and listen, I think Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. are probably the most talented wide receivers in Cleveland. But they didn't do that well last year because Baker Mayfield couldn't really get them the ball. Yeah. I think Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf both have over 80 catches this year, so I think they could be in that conversation. I got this for you. I saw this. This girl loves her Seahawks. I saw a bunch of talk about the fan base here. I have it in the background. I mean, people talk about the Steelers and the Raiders traveling, but you see all over social media, you see all over the country, there is like a bond with the Seahawks, maybe because they're up in the Pacific Northwest, but when they travel, I mean, the fans are all over the country, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I'm actually in a few different Facebook groups for the Seahawks, and they're all over the world, I shared an article, and someone said, oh, I read this, or I listened to this. It was actually a podcast, sorry. But, I listened to this in New Zealand. There's like a group of Seahawks fans in Germany. So it's like a worldwide thing. And yeah, I mean, just seeing people come together and they're so excited, so hyped all the time. I'm actually from Louisiana originally, so I don't like the LSU and Saints hate, but.
My brother's a diehard LSU fan, and I'm more, I like Clemson, I like Oregon. So, and I got to be honest, the head coach of LSU totally changed his philosophy. He was a defense, ground and pound guy. They brought in the offensive coordinator who worked for the Saints, and they had a phenomenal year last year. All the credit in the world. They were the best team in the country, no doubt about it. So who's going to be the best team this year in this division? What is your prediction record-wise for the Seahawks and the rest of that division? Because, look, I think Arizona's going to be better. I think the Rams actually win tonight against Dallas. McVay's 3-0 in opening games of the season. So I think this division is the best division in football.
Yeah, people say that a lot, NFC West is best. And I agree. I definitely think it's one of the most competitive divisions in the NFL. And I do see the Seahawks. I mean, people talk a lot about the 49ers, and I feel like they're the expected favorites, but I'm pulling for the Seahawks. As I said, they just retooled their offense. They've got Jamal Adams. I think this makes them so competitive. They have the best NFL quarterback. So, Yeah, I see them winning the division, but I think it will be close, obviously, with the 49ers. I think it's going to be between those two. One's going to get a wild card spot, and then one's going to win the division. But as far as win predictions, I was thinking about this, and I remember we actually added another game. So for me, that kind of factors in. I was thinking, okay, probably like 11-5 or 12-4, but then I was like, okay, I got to add another game. So I think it'll be between like maybe 11 and 13 wins, and then whatever.
So I mean, but you go into the season every year, and you say to yourself, if we don't make the playoffs, it's a failed season. Is the expectation that high in Seattle? I mean, is that what it's come to?
I think honestly, when you have a very successful winning franchise, a very stable franchise, people get used to the wins. And we've been to the playoffs 8 out of the past 10 years. I think to an extent, fans expect that and are used to that. And as I said, if we're not winning the division, we're getting the NFC wildcard spot. So within the NFC, it's been one of the best teams consistently. So to an extent, I do think people expect that, you know?
Right. So it's playoff or bust. And listen, I've never been up there, but I imagined, you know, just watching them, it's sad to see what's going on in America with the, you know, coronavirus. And, you know, one of the things that I'm going to talk about Rico with, we're talking with Ariana Prasad here on the Full Monty Sports Show in the next segment, is people like Russell Wilson, when they're on the road and there's not that crowd screaming, they're going to be able to check off audible. There's going to be no confusion. It's going to be like a practice game to them, right? I mean, that's something that you really have to factor in. Audible and Aaron Rodgers, they play at Minnesota today. There's going to be, you know, not a lot of crowd there, if any. So that's a huge advantage to experienced quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, right?
Yeah, that is interesting. So the coronavirus is affecting us in so many different ways. We haven't had the preseason, you know, so that'll be factoring in. There might be more flags thrown and, you know, a higher injury risk. But you mentioned the crowd noise. So that could actually be a plus to this very different season that we're having. So, yeah, and then, you know, you can kind of maybe we'll see Russ cook today. So
yeah, I love that saying, let Russ cook. Okay, finally, thank you so much for joining on. Welcome to Nuts and Bolts Sports. How can we support your career and what you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm on all social media. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. It's my name, you know, it's on the screen, at Ariana Prasad. So just follow on any of those social media. And I post my articles, and now I'm starting to do videos with you guys. So, yeah.
Okay, you did a tremendous job. We're going to have you on again. Love the flowers in the top left-hand corner. That's awesome. And I tell this to everyone who comes on, and I don't say this to brag, but my social media, my Twitter page gets about 6 to 10 million hits per month. So when you write articles, when you have stuff to do, I tell everyone this, post it on my page. I will like it and retweet to help you out.
All right, thank you so much. I'll do that.
Okay. Oh, wait, finally, who wins today? Seattle or Atlanta?
You know, it's predicted in Vegas to be close. It's like a difference with it's 1.5, but I'm thinking Seattle, of course.
Give us a score.
So I think that without a preseason, I'm expecting the score to be a little bit lower than I would normally anticipate. But I said Seattle 24-21. So we'll see.
You know, this is my friend Jared. He says, man, she is great. Such a shame she follows the bag. He's a 49er fan. So, you know.
Okay.
So take that with a grain of salt. Thanks so much. We'll have you on again, and good luck with your team today.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Great job. That was Ariana Prasad. She's new to Nuts and Bolts Sports. We were so glad to have her on because, like I said, I've been dying to get Seattle on. She did a tremendous job. George thinks Seattle's going to win by 7. And it's that time, ladies and gentlemen. You know, you can only hold them back for so long. It sneaks up on you. It's that time for Rico. Show me the money, Graziano. Rico, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty great, buddy. Pretty great. Been waiting a long time for this Sunday.
Okay, Rico. So
we're here and we're playing. Like I said from day one of the virus, I said, whatever happens, the NFL will play. And everybody thought I was crazy.
Okay, Rico.
Genius.
Well, people think you're crazy for other reasons. Don't minimize the fact that people think you're crazy because you're crazy for other reasons. But here, let's start with this. I know you never watched the beginning of the show, but I start each show with the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we're going to start your segment with the good. Now, you once told me that, before I get to that, I'm going to say, I guess the 3 best days in your life. 1, your first date with Melissa, who is now your wife. 2, the day your son was born. And 3, every beginning to the football season, because you say this is the happiest day of your life every year.
Yeah, and not in that particular order, actually.
Wait a minute. Give me the order.
It's definitely number 1 is my kid being born, and 2 and 3 flip-flops depending on what's happening in my life.
Rico, like you have to answer to Melissa after the show.
That's my test to find out if she's watching.
Okay, so now let's start with the bad. You know my brother Pete, right? Yeah, we're two of the most. Are we two of the opposite people you could ever meet?
I've never met two opposite. The fact that you guys came out of the same person is shocking. Shocking.
Pete is chill, relaxed. I'm a psycho, right? I mean, is that how would you describe how different we are?
He is just, you couldn't have said it any better. He's relaxed. His conversation level doesn't have the dynamics that you do of the ups and downs. He has a steady, when you have a normal conversation, you can know him for 5 years. The conversation will still be that, like a good conversation, but his voice is that. Unlike Monte, where it's
psycho. Yeah.
Psycho.
Okay.
Goes up, down. Your voice level is bipolar.
So Rico, Pete wanted me to tell you he's never played fantasy football and never wants to play. Does that change your opinion of him?
Like I said, he's a really nice guy. He's a guy that you could talk to. Does it change my opinion of him? No, it's just that during the football season, I'll be talking about fantasy football with him, and then he'll tell me he doesn't really play, and then I'll explain to him how it's done. Then he'll tell me, oh, I know how it's done, and then I'll say, yeah, but then why aren't you playing? And then we'll go into that.
He watches every game on Sunday. He doesn't want to play. He's like, I'm not playing.
He doesn't want to play. Maybe he's afraid to go into maybe he's afraid of the light. Maybe he knows
afraid of the unknown.
He won't be able to pull himself out. Look what I did to Levi. Levi never played. I showed him the way. We got 6 teams this year. And he called me to put up the last 2. We usually go 4. He's like, let's do 1 more.
I'm going to say something here that I'm going to say something here that I've never told anyone. But when I was in college, we started a fraternity because we would pledge these fraternities, and they're all geeks. We're like, why are we going to pay to party with these losers? So we started. I was the basketball player. We got the football players. We got all the so-called quote-unquote cool kids. After 3 years, they made a rule, the Monte rule, that if you're in the fraternity, you cannot room with Monte for a semester because your grade point average goes down. Because I was all about having a good time partying. So it was the Monte rule for any new time pledges who are now in the fraternity. You can't live with Monte for a semester until you establish yourself and your grade point average. Because they knew when it came to me, their grade point average would go from 3 to like 1.6. That's how you are in corrupting people with fantasy football.
That's why every time somebody's on the show, you tell them they make the show smarter. I guess that's what you're talking. I guess that's the roots of where it all came from.
That's a good point, Rico. All right, let's get to the thing that you are obviously the best at, and that's being, and I say this as a compliment, being a degenerate gambler. You went 12 winning weeks last year, 3 losing weeks, 1 tie. You did a tremendous job. So we're going to start right now with the Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are favored by 9. I got to think that's a high spread.
I want to go back that I'm also on a 4-year run. This is the 4th year in a row. Last year was the 4th year that I've had a winning year. And on that spread, going back to the original conversation, to this, you know what? I thought Kansas City.
9 points, Rico. 9 points is a lot of points for rivals in the first week of the season.
It is. It's a huge spread, but I'm going to go with the Ravens because 9 is like a trick spread because usually it's 10. A touchdown and a field goal is 10. So they're trying to get you on that bubble. But last year, opening the season, the Ravens scored 46 points. So Jim Harbaugh likes to come out and make a statement to the rest of the
Rico, that we weren't prepared for what the Ravens had last year. No one saw this type of offense in a long time. And as you see in the playoffs, they figured out ways to stop this prolific running offense.
Well, that was a playoff where a team – that was more of a team not being prepared and looking ahead. You know, they say that all the time. And if you look in the playoffs, they were looking ahead. They weren't playing that. They weren't in their right mindset. And you know what? If that does carry over, that really looks good for Kansas City, because Kansas City will be a clear – I mean, they're already a kind of clear favorite to the Super Bowl. But if Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are figured out, then that just makes it easier. But I would take the Ravens in 10 points.
You know, we're going to talk about Kansas City in a second. But, Rico, I got, as you can see there, people are making fun of my T-shirt, okay? I got my Lambeau Leap T-shirt, sweatshirt. Isn't this beautiful? Look, get a close-up of it. Get a close-up of it, cameraman.
You know, cameraman, I saw that T-shirt, and I was wondering, I thought there was maybe like the back had like a joke, like, you know, like a Zoom picture or something, because there is going to be no Lambeau Leafs this year, is there? So I didn't understand. Did you buy it at a clearance? Was there a clearance somewhere? It is a cool shirt. I say it's a cool shirt, but this year's not the year to wear it.
I just saw, again, Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world last year, and it's directly – you have no idea how much stuff I get on Amazon. It's out of control.
I have a box here every day. I have to get my Amazon guy a Christmas gift this year.
Rico, so you brought up Andy Reid, okay, and the Chiefs. A lot of people, like our friend Jared, said they're going to have, Super Bowl hangover. Andy Reid brought up a great point. He said normally when you win a Super Bowl, everyone from the number one guy to the 45th guy, 53rd guy on the roster, everyone gets to travel. They get to do engagements. They get to speak at businesses. They get to travel all over the country. They party. They get to do appearances. They couldn't do that this year. So there's no COVID-19. So he's like, there's no pressure on us because we didn't celebrate. We won the Super Bowl, and then the country was on lockdown. Look, I used to love being a chef because every night when I was cooking, you had to be on point. There was pressure on you. I could do this show and record it. I like it live because it makes you be on the top of your game. You have to bring the energy. You're slacking in energy right now, but you know, it's early and so there's no pressure on the Chiefs.
No, how can you say this? I mean, they looked so good. I feel like there's no pressure on them. When you watch the way they played and they walk down the field. Once you get that second wide receiver like Sammy Watkins catching the ball, you know, I never thought he had great hands, but I mean, they got this kid, Clyde Edward-Helaire. He looks great. They gave him the ball. They fed him the ball 20-some-odd times.
25 times he rushed for over 100 yards.
Times Andy Reid handed this rookie the ball and just let him. There was 2 or 3 times where he got hit, and I was waiting for the announcers to be like, welcome to the NFL. There was a time he got really hammered. But I guess, I mean, the pressure's on every Super Bowl champ, right? I mean,
but Rico, I always say this. It's better to be at the king of the hill than the guy climbing up the hill.
Yes, it is, but it's also great to be the guy to be the champ. You got to beat the champ. To beat the champ is a great feeling.
It is, but there's Mike Krzyzewski, the head coach of Duke, said he went to like 4 or 5 Final Fours before he won the championship, and he said once he won the title, all the pressure was off him because although he believed in everything he does. Like, we do this show, we believe this show is the most entertaining pregame show in the country. But until we're making millions and millions of dollars, we don't have that, okay, yes, we believe it, but now everyone else believes it too. Like Mike Krzyzewski said, now everyone saw what I was doing and all the pressure was off because I believed in the system. I believed what I believed in for years, but now we had the title. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, totally. I feel the same way. If once you get that first one off your, that monkey off your back, you really get to show. Like the announcers were talking about that the other day during the game, how happy everybody was for Andy Reid that he actually won, that he won. And you know what? Going into the fourth quarter, that didn't look of the Super Bowl. That was looking a little shaky. He was down by 10 points going into the fourth quarter with a team that was running up and down the field on him. But we're all, even me. I like to see. I wanted San Francisco to win because I bet them, but they, once when a team falls towards the end, I kind of lose a little respect for them in a weird way. I'm like,
listen, I don't know if you know this, but this show is ranked number 5. Of course, these aren't official rankings. They're my own personal rankings. No way affiliated with anything. And it's interesting.
You rank yourself number 5. In my world, this shows number. In my rankings, we keep hitting number 1.
Well, it just goes to show you what type of person I am, that in my fantasy, I barely break the top 5. All right, Rico.
And in mine, I'm always the champ, and that's what my fantasies are. We're always the top. I'm just waiting for everybody else to figure it out. They'll get it. They'll get there soon enough.
Well, listen, as long as you keep the background like that, we're really big time.
I've actually left these 2 signs up in my house all week. I just left them up.
So they've been there since last week. You didn't take them down.
They've been there actually 2 weeks, because you know why I left them up? Because Melissa didn't notice, didn't really bother her the first week, and then I was like, let me see what she thinks. She didn't say nothing the last week, so I left them up. So I was going to do a whole new background for the start of the season, but it was just too I love it, personal top rankings.
Yeah, I'm ranked number 5. And listen, a lot of people are saying this shirt, I'll show it one more time, is too big for me. And yes, it is. This is a double X. I've lost 30 pounds. I have enormous shoulders because I work out. I'm jacked. You can't even see it. But what I'm saying is this shirt is too big. It's way too big. I'm swimming in it, but it's very comfortable. And I wanted to just give some love to the Lambeau Leaf. All right, Rico, let's move to the number 2 pick. You're taking the Ravens +9. Tampa Bay Bucks at New Orleans Saints. The Saints are a 3.5-point favorite. Listen, one of the things someone pointed out, I forget what show I was listening to, and they're saying we're going to know right away when Tom Brady goes to pass if Tristan Wirfs, the rookie they drafted, the behemoth of a man out of Iowa, is going to be able to stop Cameron Jordan. You know, it's funny because all week as I'm preparing for the show, I'm thinking to myself, okay, Tampa is going to win. They have the talent, but it goes against everything I believe in this season, and that is continuity of a quarterback and coach with no training camps, no OTAs, no extended training camp, no preseason. I like the Saints here. I want Tampa to win. My whole family's rooting for the Saints. I can't stand the Saints, but who do you like in this?
Well, I like, as a bettor, I like the Saints in this game. The Saints have, like you said, they're just more of a, you got Alvin Kamara at running back, Michael Thomas at wide receiver, Drew Brees at quarterback, who've played together for, like literally everything you said. They've got such continuity. They've worked together for so long that it's hard to see them not doing what they always do. And in this game, I feel like Tom Brady and his cast of characters are going to have to, they're going to be chasing from behind. And for a team that's that scrapped together and new, in my opinion, it's going to be hard to come back from behind. It's going to be hard to play catch up with a new team when you have to really depend on certain guys to step up and do what and do their certain things. So I'm going with the Saints in this game purely because they're the Saints and they're the team to beat in this game, in the sense that I know for the NFL it'll look really good, like, oh, Tom Brady, like it's a great
Okay, story. So give us a score for this one.
34-21.
Wow, so you think the Saints are going to put up numbers here?
Yeah, I think the Saints are going to – I mean, after watching how easy, like you said, with the audible and everything, like if an offense is prepared and has been there doing it for a little bit, they got Sammy Watkins and and Tyreek Hill. They've been there for 2 years playing. I mean, Sammy Watkins, I think, was there last year, but you saw just, how they gelled. Already. Yeah,
and listen, Sammy Watkins had a great first game. The thing about Sammy Watkins is he'll have a game where he'll have 8 catches for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then he'll go 3 straight games with 1 catch. He disappears left and right. He's the Jadeveon Clowney on offense. All right, Rico, let's move to the Dallas Cowboys at the Los Angeles Rams. Listen, I'm going to do something here that I normally don't do. I think I had the Rams 8-8 in my article predicting the NFC West. I think I was too hard on them. Sean McVay is 3-0 in opening games, hasn't lost. I think the Rams, even though I wrote they're going to be 8-8, I think they're 9-7, 10-6, and I'm sure George Lopez is going to tweet the hell out of us with your pick here.
Well, why? You think I was going to pick? I was really thinking of the Rams, the Rams myself. But you know what? After thinking, as we were talking and listening to you, I really think that now it's Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to go with the Cowboys because the confidence, because the 3-0, like going. I used to live in that world where I would go to past accomplishments of being 3-0 on opening day. I think the Cowboys are just strong. They're paying the money out to the people to keep them happy. Even Dak's happy. and he hasn't gotten a new contract, but I guess he's going to be able to live with the $15
million.
million.
Wait, Rico, let me play devil's advocate here and throw this. It's not past accomplishment. It's showing that when it comes to preparing for game one, you're 3-0. Doug Peterson is 4-0 with the Eagles. We saw what Doug Peterson did in the Super Bowl against with the Philly Special, out-coaching Bill Belichick. So when they have time to prepare, like an off season, like a bye week, Sean McVay and Doug Peterson are downright very good.
Yeah, no, they're great. I mean, especially on the bye week, they really play with he really knows that you know he's got a Belichick to him. There's something about him, the way he prepares his team, and that he's more prepared with the next up player. So if somebody gets hurt, the next guy already knows what to do. He can plug and play him pretty well. I just, what, Dallas is Dallas, and I was going to go with the Rams, and at this last moment I said, and it had nothing to do with you, just I thought about it, and I was like, Ezekiel Elliott, it's the opening season, it's the opening game. Like, I think, the spread, I think, finally, what is it again, 2?
It was at 2.5 this morning.
Yeah, 2.5. So I'm going to go with Dallas. I think Dallas will win this game. If anything, no, Dallas is going to win.
Okay, is there any truth to this, Rico?
They lost so many games. Yeah. I've been getting NBA picks from George. He started off so hot, but luckily there was a few I didn't listen to him, and then he got really cold, like ice cold, like you picking Rams cold, and then
he's got the Rams winning 24-20.
Of course he does. He's a Rams fan. Matter of fact, that makes me more confident in the Dallas score because, yeah, if he didn't say it was going to end 27-14, I would have been worried. But even he knows it's going to be such a close game, and that's just because he's reaching. I mean, you got to remember, he's the guy who said that they're going to be 12 and 4 last year.
Yeah. Well, listen, I had this guy being one of the best quarterbacks in the league for the last 5 years, but obviously I failed tremendously on my Marcus Mariota. So, what are you going to do? He's got one playoff win right here against the Kansas City Chiefs a few years ago on the road.
Yeah, there it was. That was his moment. Yeah. Maybe we'll see him in Las Vegas, baby.
Well, here's the thing. He was battling for the starting position. John Gruden loved him, and now he's got like a slight tear in his pectoral muscle.
Yeah, that's right. He's done.
He's out for 3 to 4 weeks. The guy can't stay healthy. I'm done with him.
I think the designation of IR is at least 6 to 10 or something like that.
Yeah. Well, no, I think they did it differently this year because of COVID and concerns. So it might be a little less, but yeah. Wow, look at this.
Yeah, of course. Right. I think Pittsburgh is gonna sweep the season every year.
Stop.
That's the difference. I think Pittsburgh loses 3 games this year, but I know I'm being unrealistic, just like George is with that score.
Okay, Rico, we had Kirk Acevedo, the actor, on, who's been in Oz. He's been in Planet of the Apes. He's been in Band of Brothers. He's a Giant fan. Who do you like tonight? This is not betting. Pittsburgh Giants. What are your concerns with this game as a diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fan?
It's such an unknown on both sides of the ball. The Giants' offensive line, they can be hit or miss. Is James Conner? What's the connect? How's running back James Conner going to do for Pittsburgh? What is the connection that?
Rico, they're not doing running back by committee, right? I mean, Mike Tomlin came out this week.
Mike Tomlin has said it most years that he's going to do. He's going to spread the ball around, but he never does it. And this year, he actually said, "No, James Conner is our guy, and he's getting the ball all the time." So my only concern is if you see Ben Roethlisberger throw the ball to 3 other receivers in the first 3 sets, then Pittsburgh blows them out. That's because I just don't know what the continuity is between him and these new wide receivers, because it's not that they're new wide receivers. They're all really young. They're sophomores and they're freshmen, like they're really young, Claypool, I don't know. It's hard because there's no preseason.
I'm telling everyone this, Rico. I'm saying week 1 fantasy football, week 1, we don't know what's going to happen. So Andrew says 8-8 at best for the Rams.
I 9-7, I would say. I
don't know what this means. Is this prison lingo? Rico, stop drinking the prison hooch.
The prison hooch and the no-name cup. I got a sponsor, so I can
get the sponsors there. All right, Rico. last year you won me. It was I won the regular season in fantasy football, and then you used some Jedi mind trick against me to play in the playoffs, so you wouldn't have to pay. So
you thought I was down. I was in the corner. I was blocking, and then I came out swinging.
All right. Before we get into our fantasy football picks, gotta ask you right here, right now, have you watched the end of Cobra Kai?
I have 2 episodes left. I woke up at 6 this morning and I put it on. It's such a good show. I get a good solid laugh. Like if you can get one solid laugh out of any episode of any TV show, it's a good show. I've been getting like 2. Like it's really a good show. I cannot believe that it hasn't aired since 2017. They haven't made any more episodes.
Wait till you see the last episode of Cobra Kai. It is probably the best episode I've ever seen on a season-ending show. It is it's in a series. It's the best ending to season 2, 1, 3 I've ever seen. It is insane what happens. But you like it, right? You're a huge fan.
So just so you know, my wife is watching the show. She came out and gave me a look.
She's gonna give you a Cobra Kai chop in about 2 seconds.
That's right. I'm gonna look like Danny LaRusso when he was too much into the dojo when his wife when he was trying to get her back with the sushi.
All right, Rico, let's start the fantasy football. We're doing it a little bit differently this year. We're betting a $100 American Express gift card, which will basically be Venmo, and it'll be perfect because the season will end around my birthday, which is December 23rd, so that'll be a little extra cash for me. You get the first pick in the draft. Here we go. Who are you taking as your quarterback? And we're doing this week by week. So what team we have this week, we won't have next week. And we have a rule this year. You can only draft a quarterback twice. So if Rico drafts, let's say, Patrick Mahomes this week, he only has one other time to draft that quarterback. So you start us off with your quarterback. Who are you taking?
I am opening up with Russell Wilson, starting it off with my big gun. I'm not playing that hold back and save. I'm playing that just go all in and worry about the rest later.
Okay. I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to take I was really thinking about taking
Patrick Mahomes. He had a great game.
I was going to take Matt Ryan because I think that Seattle secondary is not going to be that good. They're at home. I think Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley are going to do great. But I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson is going to have a breakout year. He's going to rush for 100, throw for 250. So I'm taking Lamar Jackson, which leads me to my running back pick, my first one. I'm going to take Christian McCaffrey. Who are you taking?
You're taking Christian McCaffrey, huh? That's an interesting one. I was looking at him, and I figured you would take him, so I just didn't even put him on my list. I'm going to take Dalvin Cook from Minnesota.
Dalvin Cook, okay. And then my second running back, I'm going to take Alvin Kamara of the Saints. Who's your second running back?
My second running back, I'm going to take for the Rams, Austin Eckler, even though I think they're going to lose. And I don't.
You mean the LA Chargers?
I mean the Chargers. I'm sorry.
You think the Chargers are going to lose to the Bengals?
No. I'm sorry. I got the teams mixed up for a second just because I wrote just LA. So, no, I think the Chargers will win, but I think Austin Eckler is going to have a beast of a game. And he's on my two of my regular fantasy teams.
Rico, what do we say? No one cares at work about your fantasy football team. No one cares on social, not yours, anyone's. The least form of conversation, although it's probably your greatest thing to talk about, is fantasy football, but no one cares about your individual team.
I was talking to my friend's kid who they walked by, my friend and his kid from 6 feet away. We were talking about fantasy football, and he was rattling off his team to me, and I was giving him grades, and he was shocked when he told me who he had, and I said, "Oh, you had the 6th pick in the draft, and you got him first. You got Chubb second." And I was like, "You drafted Aaron Rodgers too early because of your dad." And he's like, "Oh my God, my dad told me to pick Aaron Rodgers."
So you emasculated the dad in front of his kid. Basically, is what you did.
I don't think the father is paying attention to us. I think he was watching the dog do his business.
All right, Rico. So you get the first pick, wide receiver.
I'm going to go with Michael Thomas because he's going to be a beast.
Okay, I'm going to take Goodwin from the Tampa Bay Bucks with no Mike Evans is out. So I'm going to take Goodwin from the Bucks. And who's your other wide receiver?
That's a real good one. I'm going beast mode, and I'm just going to go with Devontae Adams. Wow, for the kid, for the 15-year-old kid.
You really shocked me right now. I'm going to take Julio Jones.
Julio Jones was written on top of Adams, but because of the kid, I was like, you know what? He's probably watching.
Okay, I'm going to take Kittles as my tight end. As Jared tells me, he's the greatest thing in the history of tight ends. So I'm taking his Rico. Here's a quick question.
The best around. Oh, he's ever good. What does it? Put you down or knock you down? I can't remember that line.
You're the best around.
Yeah.
Never gonna stop, beat you down.
Yeah.
First of all, by the way, do you know? Oh, I can't tell you. I was going to tell you something.
No, don't tell me. I will throw this computer, and you'll have to buy me a new one.
Okay. All right. Who are you taking as tight end?
Mark Andrews. Mr. Andrews from the Baltimore Ravens will be walking.
Can we just pencil him in because you love that guy every week?
Every week. I love him. You know what? You saw where he got picked. He's the third tight end off the board in all fantasy leagues. So,
now,
short time. Yeah, tell me about it, Gina. Tell me about it.
Do you think it's better? Do you think that he's better than Zach Ertz?
Yeah, Zach Ertz is getting. He's great. I feel like he's a little on the agey side, and there's the Philadelphia Eagles have seemed to be starting to prepare a contingency in case he misses a game or two this year. So as reliability, being reliable is huge in regular fantasy football. So that's why I like Andrews much more.
When was the last time you used the term contingency, Rico?
Every fantasy football season. But from Super Bowl till the start of the season, the word doesn't come back into my vocabulary at all.
All right, Rico. All right, Rico, I'm going to offer you a way out here, okay? I normally do this in week 8 or week 9. Send me $50 and we'll just call it even. Let just for the fans look at these two teams. He has Russell Wilson. I have Lamar Jackson. He's got Dalvin Cook. I have Christian McCaffrey. He has Austin Eckler. I have Alvin Kamara. He's got Michael Thomas. I have Godwin, Tampa Bay Bucks. He has Devontae Adams. I have Julio Jones. He has Mark Andrews. I have George Kittle. And who's your defense?
You know what? I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh defense. I'm going to go with my team.
Okay, I'm going to take the Colts because they're playing Jacksonville. And just a little spoiler for you to try to help you out. Anytime Jacksonville plays a team, play the defense. That is a safe bet for you to get points because Jacksonville's going to be horrible.
Well, that's why I say it's better to streamline defenses because of stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Instead of, worrying, you just streamline different defenses all the time and you ride one out for 2 or 3 weeks and you change them up in fantasy football.
Rico, this is my philosophy in fantasy football with you this week.
Strike first, strike hard, no mercy.
Cobra Kai. I'm using it again.
Cobra Kai forever.
All right, Rico. So, what are you doing today? Obviously, this is not the big day for you because it is for fantasy, but Pittsburgh doesn't play till tomorrow. So, what do you do do you watch 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock, or do you got to mix and match because of the wife and the kid?
Well, with the wife and the kid, I'll have the TV on in the background. I'll be doing things. I'll try to sit down. I'll try to keep him in front of the TV as long as I can, watching some football. But he's 2 years old, so he's going to want to, hopefully he sits there the whole time. But I'm going to take him. We'll go out. It's tough here because of the fires in my area. It's gotten smoky, but we've had smoke cover for 4 days now. So out in I'm sure George Lopez knows what I'm talking about. I think out by him, it's pretty.
Yeah, no, he sent me pictures, man. Listen, you can't go out because of COVID. You can't go out because fires. You're basically a shut-in at this point.
Well, at this point today, if it wasn't for the COVID, we'd probably have to wear masks anyway. We got a light ash coming. If you look at a black car, it's got snow almost on it, white little ash. I mean, California technically is burning down. It's actually kind of crazy because I live in the middle of the city and it's affecting us here. You don't see it, you don't hear it, nothing, even from the hills. But that fire is big and it's rolling over the top of us.
Well, obviously, we want you to stay safe, but more importantly, Rico, so Andrea's saying I'm going to win hands down. So again, I'm going to offer you, give me $50 right now. We'll call it even. Do you want to take that option?
Oh, no, I almost want to double the bet. That's how confident I'm feeling this year. I'm feeling last year last year, not only did you crush me, but the fact that I made that comeback in the playoffs, and I think it was a Kelsey. It was a Kelsey. When I picked Kelsey, is what did it. He got 3 touchdowns that playoff game. Or
yeah, no, I won the regular season. Rico convinced me to go double or nothing, and then he beat me in the playoffs. So we were even clean. But I can't wait because, like I said, around December 15th, I'm going to clinch, and then you send me the money. My birthday's December 23rd, so I have an extra $100 to spend. All right, Rico, it's that time every week where Uncle Rico, just basically goes off on Rico's rant. The floor is yours. Say whatever you want to say.
Well, here we go. This week I want to talk about how important it is for family and when people get together and they start having fun. When I was a kid, my father, we used to always have family get-togethers, right? So it was always a bunch of people. But this time he wanted to, like, 2 different moments. I guess more or less this is story time than anything else. But one of the moments was I said I want to go to Giant Stadium. You know, it was Giant Stadium at the time. And so, like, but it wasn't football season, but it was soccer season. And at the time, it was a team called the Cosmos. So I remember he used to take me to go to the Cosmos, and it was one of those moments like that I'm going to have with my kid, which really stinks because you can't do that right now and have a moment at the stadium. And I think that, like, a time like that, like I remember I wanted to go to wrestling. He took me to a wrestling match, and that wrestling match was the time Hulk Hogan won his belt, which was in wrestling like an iconic moment, because he ended up becoming like the WWF champion. And at the time, it was called the WWF, not the WWE. But it was a time of like it was the moment. And like, if you're not doing things to be there for the moment, like saying no, nothing good happens saying no. Everything good happens saying yeah. Well, 90%. I've said yes a few times and regretted it. But I think that maybe now that I think about it, it's not so much about family, more about getting out, doing what you got to do. And I'm not talking about getting out into the world. I'm talking about just doing something. And I guess it keeps.
You were at the wrestling event where Hulk Hogan beat the Iron Sheik.
I was at the wrestling event, row 12 at Giant Stadium when Hulk Hogan got out of the camel clutch and beat the Iron Sheik. I remember seeing Andre the Giant. And it's so funny because you can go back and look on it. And me and my friend, we found it on the internet. And you can't, because the camera was so old back then. But I was there, and I'll never forget it, because actually Bob Backlund was supposed to wrestle the Iron Sheik, and he hurt his back. And so there was a surprise wrestler who was taking over him. And this
was right after Rocky III, where Hulk Hogan was Thunder Lips, the Ultimate Male. This was right after Rocky III, and up until that time, Hulk Hogan was like a bad guy, but then he becomes, and at the time there was all this, you could almost say it's like it is today, this racial divide. People hated the Iron Sheik. You know, he was the champion, and Hulk Hogan comes in with "I Am a Real American" song, and he wins the title. Wow!
Yeah, I was at that match. I was at that, and I don't care what anybody says. It's one of the most iconic wrestling matches because the Iron Sheik hurt Bob Backlund's back, giving him the camel clutch, which was the move that was like that knocked out the next guy. That knocked out the guy, but he gave it to Hulk Hogan. It was supposed to.
By the way, it's the cheesiest move ever created in the history of wrestling.
I saw Iron Sheik, and I went to the San Gennaro Festival, and he was signing autographs, and some kids walked by him and Sergeant Slaughter and were like, because they were next to each other and started like making fun and joking. These guys got so hard. These kids got scared. I was like, oh my God. I was like, Iron Sheik and whatchamacallit are going to come out and beat up these kids, because they were like joking on them, and they got like ready. They were ready. They stopped autographing. I thought it was going to go down.
Funny. Listen, people remember that, dude. People remember that. Yeah, listen. You know, so many wrestlers reinvent themselves 3, 4, 5 times back in the day. You know, I mean, you look at The Rock. The Rock was a pudgy guy now he's, you know, steroided out.
When he started out, his first in the beginning of acting, he got all skinny, and they were like, no.
Yes, and I remember because he did an interview and he said no one wants to see, and because he wanted it to be like the Die Hard, the John McClane, like an everyday guy who becomes a hero. And he said I could use my athleticism and all that other fun stuff, but I don't want. No one wants to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger because the average person can't identify with him. Well, he threw that out the window when 4 or 5 of his movies bombed, and now he's jacked like nobody's business.
They call him the comeback kid. He brings back like episode. I mean, not episode 2, like part 2 of movies. He brings back. I call him the human cartoon. He's like a gigantic human cartoon. Everybody loves him. He's
like Hercules, man. He is so jacked. It's not even funny. All right, Rico, enjoy the games. Listen. Remember this before I let you go. Remember the big show. Wrestling.
Yes, the big show wrestling. Look at you. Nice.
Yeah.
Big show. Bam Bam Bigelow also.
Yeah, Bam Bam Bigelow. Oh, man, so many classic wrestlers.
I met him once. He had a full head of hair. I met him, really nice guy. That night, he shaved his head, and he keeps his tattoo, his fire tattoos under his hair. So when he went out, we were like.
Rico, Tuesday night, we're doing an hour show. For those of you who don't know, Tuesday, 9 o'clock. It's going to be all football. We break down the entire Sunday and Monday night games. We have a guest on to talk about their winning teams. Rico's going to break down the AFC. I'm going to break down the NFC for these. If you're a casual football fan, if you're a medium football fan or a diehard football fan, we'll break it down for you. It's going to be comedy and it's going to be football. It's an hour show, hard-hitting Tuesday night, and then we'll be back here next Sunday.
Great. I'll see you guys Tuesday night, baby.
All right, Rico, enjoy the game. Thanks so much for coming on. Stay safe. Stay safe. All right, that was Rico Show Me the Money. Graziano did a tremendous job. And now we get to my extra point. We do this every week on the full Monte Sports Show. Okay, the extra point today is going to talk about. So on Thursday night, after the national anthem, the Chiefs and the Houston Texans grabbed arm in arm in a moment of solidarity. This was after the national anthem. And what did the Kansas City Chiefs fans do? They booed. They booed solidarity. This was not a protest. This was black, white, brown, whoever you are. We are all Americans. And the Kansas City Chiefs fans booed. Now, I had people say, Monte, we don't want politics in our sports. Well, let's just stop for a moment. This was not politics. This was showing unity. We're all Americans. Black, white, brown, whatever you are, whatever religion. And the Kansas City Chiefs fans booed it. Now you say you don't want politics in your sports, but we have a guy in the White House who continually attacks athletes. You don't want politics in your sports. Someone said to me, they get paid to play football, just play football. Okay, let's take that scenario. The NFL has partnered up with wounded veterans. The NFL has partnered up with the United Way. The NFL has partnered up with Vote for Vets. You know what the guy in the White House has done? He's cut the vets' budget 40%. The NFL has partnered up with 9/11 responders. It just came out that the guy in the White House took away $4 million from the 9/11 survivors, first responders. The guy in the White House right now is trying to take away health care for all Americans. During a pandemic. You know what the NFL does? Right here, Make-A-Wish Foundation. Terminally ill kids because you can't get health care. You can't get a pre-screening for half of these kids. The NFL does all that work. So don't you dare sit there and tell me that you just want them to shut up and play football. Tell you a quick story. Friend of mine, haven't talked to him in a long time, Trump supporter. He was a teacher out of school. His son struggled. 5th, 6th grade, struggled to get D's. Okay, didn't like schoolwork. Victor Cruz of the New York Giants went to that high school, volunteered to talk to kids how important education is. And if you want to be like me, you'll stay in school. The kid went from a D student to a B and A- student because his idol, Victor Cruz, told him how important school was. So don't tell me these guys should just shut up and play. When you have a guy in the White House who's cutting education, cutting health care, cutting veterans, okay? So don't tell me, because the NFL does more for your community than the guy in the White House. We've gotten $1,200 in stimulus. $1,200. The NFL, since the pandemic started, has raised and donated $50 million to the inner city. You're booing unity? You're booing unity? Go to hell. Go to hell, anyone who boos. Because the NFL does not want fans who are racist. The NFL doesn't want fans who are bigots. The NFL doesn't want fans who are causing division. Now, look, it's going to be a great, great day today. Football is back. Enjoy the time with your family. I want to thank Kirk Acevedo. I want to thank Ariana Prasad. I want to thank Rico. Show me the money, Graziano. But most of all, I want to thank you for tuning in. We will be live Tuesday night at 9 p.m., breaking down everything that happened this Sunday. You've been listening to the full Monte Sports Show. And again, in the immortal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back.